Welcome back to the Crypto channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is massively rejecting from this crucial level on the price chart, while the price is now technically activating a new warning signal in the immediate short term, as we just saw the worst day on record for a US payroll revision, which I'll talk about in just a moment, why that is a big deal for markets in the short term, while Solana and XRP are both starting to struggle around these crucial levels of resistance. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, we need to talk about some macroeconomic news today, which is affecting the market, at least in the short term for Bitcoin and crypto right now, which is indeed the worst day in history for a US payroll revision. And simply explaining what this actually means and why it's affecting markets essentially is all to do with how much the economy was expected to have grown over the last year or so versus how much it actually grew. And so basically between March 2024 to March 2025, the US economy actually created 911,000 fewer jobs in that 12-month period than what was previously estimated. And so in other words, the government previously was saying that actually we've created a bunch of new jobs here, but now the government is saying actually this 911,000 jobs, almost 1 million jobs that were created in that period actually never existed. They never were created at all. And so once again, this is the largest revision downwards in this job number here that we've seen in history for the United States, which is not good for really the overall economy. It essentially means that the economy is doing much worse than what the government was previously saying. And so obviously this is going to have a major impact on markets, at least in the short term, which is what happened. As soon as this came out just a few hours ago, as of recording this video, we essentially saw a major drop off in the price of Bitcoin. Other crypto assets and even stocks to some degree had a bit of an effect due to this major impact right here. And so that was potentially one of the major causes to this pullback that we just saw in the short term. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin charts on the weekly time frame, the super trend indicator still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. But on this weekly Bitcoin price chart, technically we still have that bearish divergence technically still active, which means we should not be expecting significant high bullish momentum towards the upside on the larger time frames. But remember, we can see short-term bullish moves on slightly smaller time frames. But overall, once again, we're still basically cooling off still during the bull market, kind of like what we saw just here or just here, for example. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, we could still see that very slowly the 3-day Bitcoin MACD is moving towards a bullish crossover. But as of recording this video, we've still got a long way to go before potentially confirming a new bullish crossover. So overall, this is a good sign to see. Like I explained in my last video, this means we're finally starting to regain just a small amount of bullish momentum. Once again, we're still lacking that significant bullish momentum on the larger time frames here, so don't necessarily expect a major move like this towards the upside anytime soon on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, for example. But just in the shorter term, obviously this slight change in the momentum in the MACD on the 3-day time frame can maybe point towards a little bit more of a bullish relief in the coming days, or maybe over the next 1 week. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, at least for now, the price of Bitcoin is still simply bouncing in this sideways price range between support and resistance. So first of all, we have strong support at this area in between 106.7k to 107.6k, and strong resistance at roughly 113,500. And so overall, continue to expect support at that support and resistance at that resistance. So in other words, rejections from resistance, bouncing from support, simply bouncing around in a sideways price range. At least for now, that is the situation on the daily time frame. And if we're taking a look at this 6-hour Bitcoin price chart, obviously, like I've said a few times over the last week, give or take, we were technically forming an inverse head and shoulders pattern because we formed a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder here. But as I made it very clear over the last few days or so, even though we were possibly forming this inverse head and shoulders pattern, it never actually confirms. The point of confirmation would have been candle closes at least above 113,000 is what I said over the last few days. We need to see a breakout at least above 113,000 with candle closes above above that level and ideally breaking out above 113.5k as this point of resistance right here, which obviously, at least for now, has not happened. And so right now, the price of Bitcoin is continuing to find strong resistance along this line right here, sitting at around 112,500, so roughly around these highs just here. But once again, still strong resistance at close to 113,000, give or take. And if we're taking a look at this 2-hour Bitcoin price chart, we can technically see a new short-term bearish divergence just on the 2-hour time frame. So obviously looking at short-term moves, small moves in the price of Bitcoin. And the last time we saw a short-term bearish divergence was, of course, back here just a few days ago, give or take. And the result of that previous bearish divergence was a quick pullback like this, kind of like what we just saw, and then actually a lot of choppy sideways price action followed by another slight little pullback. And so honestly, I'll not be surprised if we play out something very similar, which means in the immediate short term, talking about a period of hours from now, maybe the next one day, we could see a slight little bounce like this, maybe play out a little bit of a sideways consolidation like this. Could be a likely scenario. Usually we see the price kind of have a slight rebound and then settle a little bit like this after a volatile move plays out. But of course, with the bearish divergence technically still being active, it's possible we'll still kind of struggle to see a lot of bullish momentum. So in other words, we might see a slight little bounce and then cool off a little bit, see another slight little pullback, for example, could be a very likely scenario in the coming days. But overall, we're still within this sideways price range on the daily time frame. And if you want to actually trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And personally, I take a lot of my crypto trades over on BTNX, so I'll make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim some massive bonuses. For example, up to 25,000 USDT in trading bonuses simply just by trading crypto using that link. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link below this video. And in case you're wondering, BTNX is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want BTNX as an exchange, there's also Pinex as another exchange out there that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to Pinex below this video. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page where you can also claim some massive bonuses. For example, simply a $50 sign up bonus just by making an account. Completing KYC takes about 1 minute to do this, and you get a free $50 bonus onto your Pinex account from the exchange, but only if you use that link. And on top of that, there's also deposit bonuses here. For example, if you deposit just $100, you get a $100 bonus, or if you deposit $10,000, you get a $1,000 bonus onto your Pinex account. But remember, all of these bonuses here are only available if you're using the link below this video to actually make your account. So once again, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, definitely check out these exchanges using the links below this video to take advantage of these major bonuses here. You might as well do that if you're trading crypto anyway. And in case you're wondering, yes, you can access Pinex without KYC as well. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, and right now, despite the latest drop, we still have a lot of liquidity just above the price of Bitcoin, sitting at approximately 114,000 and just under 114,000. So around 113.8k to 114,000, give or take. That is still a major target to watch out for. But obviously, just underneath that major liquidity at close to 114,000, as I've been saying throughout the video and many times over the last few days, we still have strong resistance at around 113,000 to 113.5k, which at least for now, just in the immediate short term, is preventing the price from actually reaching that liquidity at 114,000. But overall, that's still likely going to act as a magnet for the price of Bitcoin, slowly pulling Bitcoin towards that area, maybe in the coming days or so. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the 3-day time frame, technically, despite these short-term bounces, overall, the price structure is still looking bearish. We're still within at least a shorter term, if not more of a mid to longer term bearish trend, as we could see, forming lower highs and lower lows and breaking below key levels. So overall, this is good news for altcoins for as long as we remain in the larger pullback. But while this is happening in the Bitcoin dominance, if we're looking at the price of Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, right now Ethereum is still simply just bouncing around in this sideways price range in between very strong support and very strong resistance. And right now, this support is still sitting in between 3.9k to 4.1k, and this area of resistance is still sitting in between 4.8k to 4.9k. And so honestly, just expect the price to remain in this sideways price range, at least for the foreseeable future. So in the coming days or so, it's likely Ethereum will just remain in this range right here. And if we're taking a look at this daily Ethereum price chart, technically speaking, this bearish divergence is still currently active, still influencing the price of Ethereum, at least in the shorter term, which means continue to expect weakness and lacking bullish momentum, but not necessarily a major crash. So quite honestly, either a slight pullback or some choppy sideways price action is a very likely outcome. And obviously I've been saying that every day over the last 1 to almost 2 weeks now. And obviously over the last 1 to 2 weeks, that's exactly what has been playing out as I've been predicting. And so I simply continue to predict the same sort of price action moving forward, at least in the coming 1 to 2 days. Now, obviously, eventually, maybe in a week from now or a couple of weeks from now, it's very likely that this will no longer be playing out and we'll see the next major move. But at least in the shorter term, the next 1 or 2 days, it's likely this will continue to play out just a little longer. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the 2-day time frame, Solana is still looking very bullish when we're talking about the longer term trend or the larger price structure forming higher lows and higher highs. And obviously we've just continued a further bullish move, creating a slight new higher high in the price above the previous high, after of course creating a higher low recently, retesting this significant area on the price chart, flipping previous resistance into new support. So all of this is obviously still bullish price structure on the 2-day Solana price chart. And as for support and resistance, I'll still be focusing on this area as strong support. If we were to see any little pullback here, once again, expect a lot of support in between 190 to 200 and a lot of resistance at approximately $230. If of course we can further break out above these highs right here, still acting as a little bit of short-term resistance at roughly 215 to 216, give or take. But really the next major target is close to 230. And if we're taking a look at this 12-hour Solana price chart, we also have this line of resistance still impacting the price just in the immediate short term. Obviously for the last few hours or so, we have struggled a little bit around this area, sitting at approximately 217 to 218. And so obviously that is still a level to watch, acting as resistance at least in the short term. And as for support, we have this line of support for the rising wedge sitting at approximately $205 to $206 if we were to see another short-term rejection. But overall, considering all of this information, Solana is simply looking bullish. We're still within a larger bullish trend. And of course, from time to time, we can see little pullbacks along the way during the larger bullish trends. But overall, that is the situation. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, despite what happens in the shorter term on the smaller time frames, technically we still have an active bearish divergence on this much larger time frame, the weekly time frame, with higher highs still confirmed in the price and lower highs still confirmed in the weekly XRP RSI. And so obviously not much has changed over the last 1 day on this chart right here. And if we're taking a look at this daily XRP price chart, the price has now officially confirmed a daily candle close back above this crucial level right here, which previously was acting as a bit of support, and more recently over the last 1 week, give or take, was acting as short-term resistance, and that was sitting in between around 285 to 290. And obviously the latest daily candle close as of recording this video confirmed well above $2.90, close to $3, around $2.97. And the next major horizontal level of resistance I'll be watching is based on these highs right here, and that's sitting at around $3.08. But really in between $3.08 to $3.10 would be the next major area of resistance that I'll be watching if the price ultimately continues a further bullish move. And as for support, if for whatever reason we see another short-term rejection from a point of resistance, I'd now expect a lot of support at, once again, this area just here that we just broke out above, in between 285 to 290, now once again acting as new support. And then below that, we also have a crucial level of support at around 275. And if we're taking a look at this daily XRP price chart, once again, we have this support line at around 275, which I've been talking about here on the channel, acting as strong support. I've been saying that since before we perfectly bounced from pretty much exactly 275 based on the daily candle closes. But as of recording this video, the price of XRP, at least in the shorter term for the time being, is still currently struggling a little bit around this important descending line of resistance, currently sitting at approximately $2.98, give or take. So it really close to $3, just under $3. That's still acting as a bit of short-term resistance. But of course, if we ideally break out above $3 with confirmation, the next target, we could find some resistance at, once again, around $3.08 to $3.10 as the next area above $3 to watch out for. And then above that, we have a major area of resistance sitting at just above $3.30. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, it's a somewhat similar situation for Chainlink, obviously still in a long-term bullish trend, forming larger bullish price structure, but just in the shorter term for the last couple of weeks, we've clearly been in a short-term bearish trend. In other words, a larger pullback during the long-term bullish trend. And as for support and resistance to watch out for, we still have strong support at just above $21, really just underneath $22 around here, and also strong resistance at around $23.80, so just under $24, more resistance at just above $25, and major resistance at close to $27. And as I've said many times recently here on the channel, for as long as the price of Chainlink remains above this area in between $20 to $21, I'm still overall bullish on the longer term trends, the larger price structure technically still looking bullish. Of course, we can see shorter term bearish moves during the long term bullish trend, but I'd only flip much more bearish again on the longer term trends, the larger price structure, only if we see a confirmed break below around $20 to $21, which for now has not happened. But if we're taking a look at this daily Chainlink price chart, technically speaking, we still have this active bearish divergence. We've not yet confirmed an invalidation signal to actually invalidate this bearish divergence, which means this can still impact the price of Chainlink, at least in the shorter term for the coming days, maybe even another week, but at least in the next few days, it's likely we could still be somewhat lacking bullish momentum, not necessarily seeing a massive crash towards the downside, but still struggling to see significant bullish price action. And so that is simply the situation for Chainlink and the key levels to watch out for Chainlink and the rest of the crypto assets I've talked about in this video. And of course, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.